Oh, what a tangled web they did weave when Epira they first conceived. And the 19 million Filipinos today cannot make heads or tail of why they now have the highest power rates in Asia. Not only now, by the way, but for the past 10 years since the Electric Power Industry Reform Act. That's why I've always called it Electric Power Industry Deform Act. Our guest will later on have another name for it, probably a more powerful name for it. But that is why this leads us now to this a continuing series and our latest episode entitled More Power Outrages. And this is a lot more problematic than just outages. We are outraged with this highest power cost in Asia, and no less than the International Energy Consultant, contracted by the ECOB, Employers Confederation of the Philippines, and the COPE, the Confederation of Philippine Exporters, to study the power situation. And in their recent paper, last February of this year, issued last February of this year, paper entitled The Impact of High Energy Costs on Philippine Exports, the problem of high electricity rates has been identified one of the most serious problems. In fact, in a NEDA seminar, our often protagonist Deputy Governor of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas admitted as much too, that they are troubled by the high power cost in the Philippines. So all this talk about bringing in FDI, yung foreign direct investments and chacha and so on, misses the point too. Because a study of the energy prices of ASEAN will show that one of the highest recipients of FDIs, Vietnam, which had $8 billion foreign direct investment in 2010, has a power rate of 5 US cents per kilowatt hour. How much is that in peso? Multiply that 5 US cents by the exchange rate of 42. And that would come out around 2 pesos and, let's say, 2 pesos and 50 Philippine currency per kilowatt hour. Thailand, which took in $6 billion US in foreign direct investments last year, has 15 US centavos, 15 US cents per kilowatt hour. And in the Philippines, it fluctuates between, depending on the exchange rate and the local prices, it fluctuates between 22 US cents per kilowatt hour to a high of 28 centavos, 28 US cents per kilowatt hour 2 years ago. So again, we call on our usual Power Rangers, one to discuss with us the legal remedies that we can still hope to launch against this power outrages, and our consumer advocate and technical man who has been following these issues and has given us the lowdown every other month on this issue. So we have Attorney Bono Adaza, former assemblyman and former governor of Misamis Oriental, and Bochunia, columnist of various newspapers. I don't know which one to mention right now. We'll start off with the updates from Mr. Bochunia, and then will be followed up with the remedies that we can hope to do with Attorney Bono Adaza. So Butch, yes, give us an overall picture at this point in time.
Well, thank you, Kamentong, for having us here again, no? And for this very regular updates on the power industry. Because indeed, kailangan talaga tayong parating nakatingin at nakatuon ang atensyon dyan sa kuryente, no? But when I got your text 2 nights ago, sa topic natin on outrage in power, parang mixed ang reaction ko dahil sa tagal-tagal na pinag-uusapan natin ito, wala ako pang nararamdaman o nakikitang public rage when in fact the causes for outrage multiply dramatically. Kasi sa dami ngayon ng mga nakapending na petisyon o hiling sa Energy Regulatory Commission tungkol sa pagpapataas ng kuryente, palagay ko kung ito ay makakarating lang sa mga tao na apektado, other than just saying na pinakamahal ang kuryente natin, I think they would have taken to the streets already if they had realized kung gaano ka oppressive, gaano ka unjust, gaano ka illegal in many instances itong mga charges na ito. Kamakailan lang, meron tayong from Congress na nagsabi na yung Power Sector and Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation naghain na naman ng panibagong petisyon sa ERC kung saan ang dating hindi binigyan ng due course ng ERC na petition for the recovery ng stranded contract cost and stranded debt cost ay i-recover na ngayon ng PISAM. Ito ay malalaking amounts na, in fact, ang aggregate yata aabot ng more than 1 peso per kilowatt hour. So you can just imagine ang impact niyan. Mayroon din kamakailan lang, i-final naman ang ating kaibigan sa Meralco na ang application naman nila, ang tawag nito, Kamentong Governor, hindi rate application, kung hindi compliance filing ang tawag. But the compliance filing involves 1 billion pesos in under-recovery in generation cost, 9.6 million pesos in under-recovery in lifeline subsidy. In separate discussions, sinabi na natin na itong generation cost, pinuna ng Commission on Audit na for the year 2004 and 2007, nag-over-recover ang Meralco, pero hindi naman binigyan ng halaga ng ERC yung findings ng Commission on Audit. Ito namang lifeline rate na ito, dati na natin tinalakay at sinabi natin, dapat hindi tayo ang nagpapasan yan, kung hindi ang gobyerno dahil safety net program yan. So, mayroon ka pang sinabi, Kamentong, na yung National Grid ay mayroon din application. Ito ang isang naging problema dito dahil nung inunbundle yung rates at pinaghiwa-hiwalay ang iba-ibang elemento ng power rate natin, bawat isa nagsusulong, bawat isa naghahain, bawat isa humihingi ng increase, hiwa-hiwalay na, hindi mo na alam ang aggregate cost. At the end of the month, pag nakita mo, ang kuryente mo na pala is 22 or 28 US cents, pero nung hiningi sa'yo, pira-piraso, inunti-unti ka, pinira-piraso rin ang hingi sa'yo. No?
Yes.
There are still many other things,
and
I'm sure you're familiar with
I will give a summary of the past 4 weeks or 5 weeks of different applications, actual announcements. So it's not just a petition, but announcements of rate increases. First of all, petition, National Grid Corporation, 13 centavos per kilowatt hour for the whole year of 2011, and then 17 centavos per kilowatt hour from 2012 to 2015. This is one application. Yes, you want to
react to that? Ang isang dyan kasi, Kamentong, both in the Meralco, the National Grid rates, lahat ng gastos nila, magmula sa kapital, magmula sa interest, magmula sa kita, yung mga return on investment, return on capital, lahat yan, tayo ang nagpapaluwal, tayo ang nag-a-advance. Nagpapauna. Nangyari yan dahil ang inadapt ng Energy Regulatory Commission, yung performance-based regulation, kung saan ang ina-approve na ng Energy Regulatory Commission, hindi na yung recovery ng ginastos, kung hindi yung projected cost over a 4-year period. So ginagawa yan ng NGCP, ginagawa ng Meralco, ginagawa ng lahat ng utilities, yung 4-year period na yan under sa PBR. At yun ay estimates na hinihingi sa atin in advance. Kaya nga, karamihan dito, Kamentong, mga legal issues and ang remedies would actually be legal remedies.
Yes, we will go to that. Just to elaborate on their justification, this NGCP, for this new hike that they're seeking, it is to cover the damages they had to fix during Ondoy, Typhoon Basyang, and Typhoon Juan. So if there are projected charges, there is also retroactive charges.
Offhand, Kamentong, no? I'm sure there's going to be a hearing. But offhand, ito lang ang tanong ko dyan. Nung sumisingil kayo, mayroon kayong insurance cover. Saan napunta yung insurance coverage na yon? Binayaran natin yung premium na yan. So if you have insurance coverage, the premiums for which we paid, why in heaven's name are we going to pay
Or
for the losses?
In hell's name.
In hell's name.
Okay. Wesam is seeking 8.5 centavos per kilowatt hour increase. The wholesale electricity spot market, and what is their justification? Because of the high Malampaya natural gas prices. But oil is going down. Why is Malampaya gas increasing? You can see very clearly from my point of view, the manipulation to maintain the profit levels of the oil companies.
Kamentong, from 2 points on the WESM. First, yung WESM was established as a trading platform to have a reference price for the generation of electricity.
And that the principle there is that you have geothermal and other sources, and they mix it to come out with an average price. Right?
No, the principle there is that the power industry was divided into 4 principal sectors: generation, high voltage transmission, distribution, and retail and electricity supply. In the generation sector and in the retail and electricity supply, this is already supposed to be deregulated. And the WESM was supposed to be the mechanism or the platform for referencing or establishing the open market price of electricity in the generation market, which is supposed to be market-driven. But IPIRA itself said the cost for running the WESM should be paid by the players. So why is
by the
WESM,
energy companies,
by the generation companies that are going to trade on that platform? So why is WESM now going to
charging
ERC
us, the
and charging
consumers,
us for the cost? It should be pay as they go.
Yes,
And it should be the generation companies in a competitive and market-driven environment factoring it into their pricing so that yung efficiencies nila, yun ang mapupunta sa atin. Ang nangyayari, the costs are the ones that are being passed on to us and we are being asked to bear the burden of that cost.
Okay, so I will add the other petitions and other hikes later on. But again, let me go back to the preface of our program. Oh, what a tangled web they did weave when EPIRA they first conceived. Talagang nagkagulo-gulo. But we have more technicals and details. I'll get the reaction of our lawyer here, our legal mind here. First of all, my question, is a law that is such a tangled web a good law? Or is it intended to really cover up some intentions that the public may really find abhorrent and reprehensible?
And can it be untangled?
How do we untangle it?
Well, I've been listening to both of you on the technical aspect of the IPIRA law. I remember about 6 months ago, I heard Senate President Enrile say in radio and television that he introduced amendments to the IPIRA law. But the amendments have not been acted upon by Congress, both by the lower house and the upper house, for a period of 2 years already or more. So, if the Senate President like Enrile believes that the IPIRA law should be amended, there is something wrong with the law. And even the way you have talked about it, there is really something wrong with the law. So, it came into my mind that instead of calling this the IPIRA law, this should be the Vampira law.
Definitely, that is very apropos.
It sucks
apropos.
the blood of the Filipino people.
And the economy,
And the
national
economy also,
economy.
It's the lifeblood that it is sucking from out of us.
So the Vampira law is a bad law. It's not only to be amended, it should be totally scrapped.
That's right.
Should be totally scrapped. But the main problem is in this country, Congress, it will take time to enact laws that really redound to the best interest of the people, because to begin with, most of the members of Congress are just the running dogs.
And they're also they're
of the of the energy.
Oh, shall you say the little vampires?
You know,
They're the running dogs of these companies. So why should the running dogs?
Yeah. And
chat the Vampira law?
isn't it surprising that the whole nation is outraged, yet we do not hear enough from Congress and Senate about the electricity problem?
you know, I was thinking exactly along those lines. I mean, we are focused on so many other things. I do not diminish or underappreciate the significance of those investigations or probes that are being done. But then, if you compare it
to the gravity,
impact for impact, value for value, in relation to this particular issue, I cannot, for the love of me, understand why nobody is taking a serious look at this thing.
No, you can understand it, Butch. They're waiting for the president to say something. Since the president is silent, why should he be enraged by what is happening?
It's a function of leadership.
And the top leadership has been very quiet about it, and that really raises a lot of questions. But let me, in fairness, mention the following. Congressman Toby Tiangco of Navotas did object and did say that he will pursue the question of why we are paying VAT on the pilferage, what do you call that?
System loss.
System loss. So we're paying VAT or tax on the system loss. There are many other issues there.
I have a post-script to Congressman Chanco. We are also paying expanded value-added tax, 12%, on this lifeline subsidy, an involuntary subsidy that is imposed on us to pay for the consumption of those 100 kilowatt hours and below. And I even have further bad news for him that the lifeline subsidy is paid only by 98% of the consumer base of Meralco. So who are the 2%? The large industrial and commercial customers who do not share with us the burden of subsidizing the lifeline consumers.
Yes, and to add this to the issue that we are paying 12% VAT overall on the electricity charges, and yet they are taking from us the support, the financial support for the, they say, indigents, the poor,
the lifeline customers.
Lifeline customers, 99 kilowatt per.
100 kilowatt hours below.
Yes, so we're already paying taxes, and then they're also extracting us for charity, but not touching their own pork barrel for that charity.
At the rate you're talking, there is a major need for leadership, not only in Congress but on the other level. We need a psychiatrist.
Okay, but I thought we need a revolutionary. We'll go that.
A revolutionary psychiatrist.
We'll talk about that later.
I was just also going to say that you can have a bad law, but if you have good people implementing it, it can balance
they may
it out.
correct it.
But if you have a case of a bad law and equally bad people looking after it, then you really are in trouble.
Okay.
You really are in trouble.
In fairness too, let's mention Congressman Erin Tanyada, for raising the question of PISALM and the charges that PISALM, I think in relation to the universal charge.
I read that quote of Congressman Tanyada in the papers, and it got my hopes up because I was, the way I read his statement, he was going to ask ARC to explain to Congress the reason for the new rate-setting methodology that they've adopted and to rationalize or explain the impact of it. Because since we've adopted performance-based regulation, the profits of utilities have gone up dramatically, and the rates have also increased just as dramatically. Meralco's profitability has increased from 2.7 billion to 6 billion to 12 billion to 14.4 billion annually from 2008 to 2011. Our rates have tripled from the time of RORB, which was 76 centavos, to 164 per kilowatt hour distribution and supply charges now. So given those two as points of reference, there really is a lot of need to explain what PBR is all about, why it has resulted in such a situation.
Okay, so we have our last 10 seconds before the break. I've mentioned only two people in Congress who have said anything. The question is, will they be browbeaten into silence again by the power oligarchs?
Out of how many?
Out of how many? Out of 250? Okay, we'll be back after this break.
Put the marks there.
You're back to join us in our discussion of the more power outrages that we as a nation will be facing as time goes on. And we were giving credit where credit is due among the few congressmen, really not even a drop in the bucket, maybe half a drop in the bucket of Congress of 250 members or so. I've mentioned two. There's another fellow that you need to mention, your kababayan.
Well, Bene Verdone from
Congressman,
Samar,
yeah.
Congressman Bene Verdone is focused or nakatutok siya dun sa PISAM and NPC issues, no? And they are definitely a big slice of the electricity and power industry, so they really need some looking into.
Yes, yes. And what is the issue he's raising? The rate increases of PISAM, universal charge.
The issue with PISAM, Kamentong, is that this was the corporate arm created by IPERA to manage the debts. I'm sorry.
Sobrang malamig, ano?
Sobrang malamig. To manage the debt and to take care of privatization of the assets that will pay for the debts. Now, what needs explaining at this time is that when IPERA was adopted 10 years ago, the debt stock was, I think, 18 billion US dollars. Today, about 90% of government assets in the power industry, both contract and generation and plants, no contracts and plants, 90% have been privatized. But the debt stock stands at 16 billion US dollars. And in fact, the past couple of years, in the hundreds of billions of pesos, PISAM has been incurring more debts. So it is something that should be looked at. And in the newspapers today, there is a statement that Congress is asking the Commission on Audit to take a look at all these numbers. But I just have some concern about that because in 2007, I think, the Supreme Court ordered the Commission on Audit, or ERC, to engage the Commission on Audit for the regulatory review of Meralco's books for the years 2004 and 2007. The report was given to ERC in 2009. There were findings that Meralco had overcharged by as much as, I think, 14 or 11 billion pesos. And after sitting on the COA report for almost 2 years, very recently, the Energy Regulatory Commission came up with a ruling that it was not giving due course to the COA audit, first because they do not anymore use the COA under performance-based regulation. Second, that it would amount to what it calls a retroactive rate making.
Let me go back.
Let me just finish up